Hello, Samudro of Awakening Psychology again. So I'm just continuing the third part of this video about fear induced, provoked by the pandemic of 2020, the coronavirus. So I was talking about the three types of fear, individual and collective fears, which are ego-based fears. And then I was talking more about biological fears, the natural fears, which are not necessarily bad. So the individual fears are, like I want what's good for me in my life, and I have, if I feel threat, if my survival is under pressure or danger, I might have reactions. Those reactions are the fight or the flight response, or the freezing response. So that's, then I talked about the 5 F's: fear, fight, flight, freeze, and freedom. So how do we get to freedom? So 3 basic ways. Just like we have 3 basic categories of fear and 3 basic ways of working on our fear. First is the active way. First of all, I just want to again just talk about this with a chakra perspective. So 7 chakras, but also we have 3 nadi, 3 channels of energy. In the right side of the body we have the pingala. It's considered the masculine energy or the active principle. In the left side of the body we have the ida nadi, the feminine channel or the passive force. And in the middle, joining all the center of all the 7 chakras, is the sushumna nadi. And that's where our energy can rise up from 1st to 7th chakra. So the 3 nadi are linked to active, passive, and neutral forces, or male, female, and the union of male and female, or the neutral force. So, there are always 3 solutions to every problem in life. So active solution, passive solution, and a neutral solution. So let's see, what could be the active solution or the active way to become free from fear? This is the direct approach. It's like, as I was saying in the earlier part of the video, fear is like a rock. Physically, emotionally, even psychologically, it's like a big block or a big block. And if I break that block down into parts, so like I was categorizing fear into 3 types, that's already breaking the fear into 3 parts. It's already giving us a little bit of liberation from the fear, just to understand it's not something bigger than us. So that is actually, it's a mental level of the male approach to break things down through understanding. But on the physical and emotional levels also, I can break this rock down. So if I feel there's a contraction in my body, we often find this in the attendance seminars, especially when we do some very active physical exercises or something that provokes the emotions, then people find out, oh, I have tension in my body. Then they go more clearly with their understanding. What is the cause of my tension? Why do I feel pain in this part of my body? And it could be so tense, just like if I grip my fist. If I hold my fist tight, of course I feel some tension for a few moments. But if I hold it forever or for years, like maybe I became afraid of something when I was a child, and I tense myself up, and those muscles have been tense for the last 30, 40, 50 years. Of course, I'm not going to feel it. I'm going to be numb. Numbness is one of the manifestations of fear in the physical body. And if we go deep into that numbness, and we try and open it up, we'll feel pain. Now, if I go into the pain, find where does the pain come from? I might go back into some childhood memory. Out of the physical, sensation and emotion might come. And if I go deep into that emotion, oh, yes, I was being punished by my parents when I was a child. So, of course, I'm afraid of a loud voice of my father, for example. My father shouts, I'm tense. Maybe my father will hit me. I don't want to be hit, so I'll tense myself. And I might run away from my father, flight. Or could I argue with him? That would be the fight. Or do I freeze? So if I freeze, I get really tense. So, and if I'm holding on to that my whole life, if I never let go of that emotional memory of fear of my father, then I'm going to have that fear manifesting in my life recurring. Because when something scary happens, it freezes a part of the brain. It freezes a part of our psyche. Freud would call it fixation. But also in Reichian work, and especially in the body types, we would see with Alexander Lowen's work, I also like to teach body types a lot, we would see that it's not only the mind that gets fixed at a point, it's the body and our emotional energy. So fear happens and we get fixed, something in us stops. Our life energy stops moving, or our body stops growing, or our mind stops growing, our personality stops growing. Fear, especially very traumatic fears, are a stop point. And when something in life triggers those memories, perhaps very subconsciously, I will respond with my childhood reaction again. So maybe now it's not my father, but it maybe is the government authority, maybe the tax man, maybe something that's threatening me. It's they will psychologically represent an authority to me, like my father was. So if I have a fear of my father, I have a fear of authorities because he was an authoritative person. Now, of course, it could be, it can also be mother, and depending on in which way she was representing, how she was nurturing you or raising you, perhaps she was the authoritative one. So also when we deal with fear, a part of it is we also have to work with our childhood conditioning. Even when working with chakras, we have to look at childhood conditioning because that's when we learn our basic responses. So the direct approach to become free from fear is to feel how fear blocks your body as a numbness or as a pain, as a tension, how it causes pain in the emotional level, and how it causes fear on the mental level, and it causes us to react in a habitual way. Now, of course, with the pandemic, maybe it's more of an obtuse fear, not so psychological because it wasn't from my childhood, but maybe it's more collective. Perhaps it's really coming from the collective unconscious of our history of humanity. We haven't had a pandemic like this for 100 years. We have forgotten on the conscious level. But of course, we're having to learn very quickly how to respond to the danger. So on the mental level, there's more to understand about how to respond directly to fear. One way is to use rationality, whereas physically I might try to break open my blocks. That's also very helpful on the physical level. What can help us? Keep on moving. So before I talk about the mental level, I'm sorry, I'll just backtrack a bit. So on the physical level, I might have fear stored in my body since my whole life. And it's getting triggered in my daily life. My projections of my parents, my memory of my parents is stored subconsciously, and I project it now onto other adult figures, bosses, or maybe relationship partners, maybe a boss, a business partner, maybe my relationship partner. So our daily life, we meet figures that are like our parents, the people that caused fear in our childhood, that left a mark in our subconscious. So if I want to release fear physically, I have to get the hormones to move again. Because the hormones of fight or flight, the adrenaline and the cortisol that tells me to fight or flight, they get stuck in the body if you don't move. So that's why also a lot of people get a lot of pain in the lower back, because that's where, the lower back is where we feel I've got to move. It's like the engine of the body. So I really recommend movement. Maybe it's dancing, but I really recommend running. Very good exercise. Swimming, perhaps. Osho's active meditations are very helpful because we're active in several stages, and then we go into meditation. So it's not just releasing on the physical level, it's also going to support other levels, and ultimately supports the spiritual level. And I really recommend Osho's mandala meditation as perhaps the best meditation that we can do at this time for releasing fear on the physical level, because the first stage is running. So when you're afraid and you're tense and you're not doing anything, it's good to run, 15 minutes of running on the spot, and that will get your motor running and can help you release the tension from the body, or the numbness from the body. So moving is very helpful. Move your body. Now, also depending on where your lockdown is, like I'm stuck also in a lockdown situation where we're also even not allowed to go outside for walking, or even not allowed in the park. All the parks are locked in the country I'm in. So I can only do exercise at home. So I'm running here 15 minutes every day at least, sometimes more, 30, 45 minutes, running on the spot. And it just helps, helps the body, keeps the body moving. All right. Now, on the mental level of the active approach, the active way to become free from fear is to use the understanding, to see, okay, I have this fear, and this fear comes from my childhood. It's really understanding, or this fear is coming from the collective, for example. So now there's a lot of hysteria almost about the pandemic. And one thing we understand about fear is fear leads to more fear. The more you're afraid, the more you will be afraid. The more you panic, the more you will panic. Behavioral scientists, behavioral psychologists will say the worst thing to say in a situation of panic is to tell people, don't panic. So, we can see that when people are running to the supermarkets and buying toilet paper or things, because they heard other people are buying toilet paper. So if you want your toilet paper and you hear everybody's running to the supermarket, well, I better get some before everyone else does. So panic behavior leads to more panic behavior. Buddhists also say that this is how the mind works, that the more you're afraid, the more you will be afraid. The more you have a mental affliction, the more, if you listen to that mental thought, it's going to escalate. So you have to stop that thought. You have to be aware of that thought as it begins. So this is the positive way of working with your mind. be aware when you are afraid what triggers the fear, which physical feeling you had, which emotional feeling you had, which thought it was. Oh my God, there's not going to be enough food in the supermarket. There's not going to be enough rice. There's not going to be enough spaghetti. I won't have anything to eat. There won't be enough toilet paper. What am I going to do? I have to run and get something. There won't be enough for me. Yeah, the ego-based, as I said. So many of these fears are ego-based, especially these individual or collective fears. They're ego-based. They're teaching us, I need to take care of me. That's the thought in the mind. The ego says, hey, take care of me. I'm the most important in my world. If I'm not taking care of me, who is? So I have to survive. The ego is basically a defense mechanism. The ego is based on fear. In order to survive I need fear. And if I have fear, I can survive better than I still exist. So we can go even further and investigate these collective fears and see where they are coming from. So, there's a lot of conspiracy theories right now. The virus started as a bioweapon. It started because of 5G. It's because of this. It's because of that. It's because of the rats, the bats, the pangolin, the wet markets in China. And then China says, no, it's America that invented it and they exported it to us. And people are blaming people. Politicians are using this moment of fear to get what they want. They want attention and they want people to be afraid. Because if people are afraid, then they will do what they're told. So that there are lots of conspiracy theories, a lot of control issues going on. And people are just freaking out right now. And you look on social media and it's almost insane because the fear leads to more fear. The panic leads to more panic. The thought leads to more thoughts. Don't think about green monkeys. Huh? Where did that idea come from? Oh, yeah, it's a spiritual teaching from Osho. He was quoting a Zen master who, one of his favorite stories was the disciple was asking this master, how can I get enlightened? And the master just said, it's easy. Just don't think about green monkeys. Not just red monkeys or brown monkeys, but green monkeys. So, of course, what did the disciple do? Go home, meditate, and all he could think about was green monkeys. So this was a very simple joke, but deep teaching. Whatever you think about, if you allow yourself to think it, it just proliferates. It gets worse and worse. So you have to be very aware. We have to be very aware of the thoughts that cause fear, the thoughts that create a panic. And usually you always find there's an I thought there. It's for me. And it happens so fast. You have an instant reaction and it gives an emotional boost. And when you have an emotion, you think that thought is correct. It's very difficult to separate an emotion from your thoughts. When we have a thought and then we have an emotion, we think that is right. That is me. We don't even think, we just know it. So what I'm noticing with all these conspiracy theories and everything is going crazy on the internet, the social media about the conspiracy theories, to me it seems like conspiracy theories and toilet paper are very similar. There's a panic about running to the supermarket and buying toilet paper. Why toilet paper? Okay, perhaps it's a control issue. Yes, toilet issues are control issues because that's something I can control, or maybe I can't control it. That's the fear. So there's a run on toilet paper. There's a panic about toilet paper, and conspiracy theories are similar. is if you allow these thoughts to run, they just get more and more. But the idea of believing in a conspiracy theory is the ego trying to grasp onto something, because the pandemic is so scary. It's something so ephemeral. It's invisible. We can't see it. Someone walks past us, they cough. Oh, maybe I will catch that. It's not something we can control. We are very, very scared when we're not in control. So on the mental level, the mind is very scared now because it has nothing to control. I cannot control this virus spreading. No one has a solution. We have no vaccine right now. It is very dangerous. So when we feel out of control, we have to do something to feel in control. Buy the toilet paper or believe in a conspiracy theory. Because then, if I believe in this conspiracy theory, especially the more outrageous, the more rare that conspiracy theory is, then it's more individual. Then I can think, oh, I have that thought. I have this idea. I know what's going on. I know where the virus came from. That feeling of I makes you feel in control. Then you feel safer. The ego needs to feel safe. That's what its job is. The ego wants you to keep safe. And the safest thing in the world is to feel I exist. That's what the ego thinks, that the safety is in the ego. The safety is in existing. That actually the deepest fear that we have is the fear that we don't exist. I don't exist. You don't exist. Yes, this body exists, but maybe it will die. Yes, we're afraid of death. Of course, I don't want to die. And probably you don't want to die. But what if there's something deeper than the fear of death? What if the deepest fear is not the fear of dying, but the fear that my personality, will die? Not just this body will die. That's why religions have to believe that after I die, I will go to heaven. Or after I die, I will reincarnate. Oh, okay, I'm going to die, but I will live again. That makes it easier. That makes us feel less afraid. But what if those things are just beliefs and I don't know if they're really real or not? Actually, the deepest fear is maybe I don't exist. Maybe there is no reality. Maybe there is only emptiness, as the Buddhas teach us. That is the deepest fear, the fear of emptiness, the fear of not existing. So when we're in this collective, almost global fear right now, I think what is the biggest fear is really, really happening to a lot of us. The fear that we're not in control. And if I'm not in control, then what am I doing? What's the point of I? If I can't control what's happening to me, then I am useless, I'm helpless. I can do nothing, I am a nobody. And the ego doesn't want to feel like a nobody. The ego wants to feel I can do something. Everybody wants to be the emperor of the world. And that's why we need conspiracy theories, because the more crazy the conspiracy theory is, then I can say that's my idea. I will agree to that one. When now the whole media of the world says, lockdown, stay at home, don't go to work, don't do this, don't do that. The governments are telling you, we're telling you this to protect you. Celebrities are saying it. Everyone's on TV saying you must stay at home to feel safe. So of course, they're telling us, again, it's like a big authority telling us what we should do. The ego doesn't like that because I want to control what I want to do in my life. So conspiracy theory is, well, I don't have to believe in the authorities. They are all doing it to control me. So if I can believe there's something, they made this virus just to control us all. it's all the Illuminati and it's all 5G. It's all going to be, they all, the New World Order is taking us over. These conspiracy theories are the ego's attempt to stay in control. Now, I'm not saying that they're wrong. Maybe it's true. Maybe there is a New World Order. Maybe the virus was created deliberately in a lab and released. But we don't know that as a fact. Right now, all we can deal with is facts. If you have evidence, real evidence, that the virus was created in a lab by the Illuminati, by the New World Order, all right, great, you have evidence, let's know about it. Then we can do something about it, but we don't know. So what's the point of having conspiracy theories? If we find out the real source, we can maybe do something about it to prevent it happening again. So what I'm trying to say is that if we use our intelligence to identify the thoughts that make us afraid, to understand where do those thoughts come from? Is it from the body? The body doesn't want to die. Is it a biological, wholesome fear? Or is it an individual fear? I just want what's good for me. Or is it coming from the collective? If we can try and identify where those thoughts of fear come from, then we don't need to let those thoughts proliferate. We can just separate our awareness from the physical, emotional, and the mental thought. And if we separate our awareness, then we come back to our true nature. And that is what we're looking for in awakening psychology, which is a combination of psychology, understanding the mind, and spirituality, meditation. We're using psychology to grow towards spirituality, towards meditation, towards the full awakening. I'll continue in another part.